So, if you're not aware of what happened the other day, depending on when you're listening to or watching this show, Sam Leavitt could leave Arizona State. He's injured, out for the year. The Sun Devils have a remote, not zero, but pretty slim chance to make the Big 12 championship game and return to the college football playoff. So, Sam Leavitt, according to a report over at On3, was, as they put it, being shopped around by his camp to other schools. Then there was a screenshot of a text message that was leaked out from Sam Leavitt's brother saying, "This is ridiculous. Sam hasn't decided what he's going to do." Now, there are a couple of different things to note here. First of all, my initial reaction to this was I find it really hard to fault fans who, when asked about the current state of college athletics, some of these folks are in the older crowd, say, man, it's become too much. It's gotten to be over the top. There's too much money. There's no loyalty and all that sort of stuff. Stories like these make it hard for me to push back on those folks. I encourage them to focus on the positive in college sports and what NIL and the portal have brought to the college athletics landscape. But when you get sucked in on the negatives or you harp on it too much, it's really hard for me to turn around and go, yeah, you're not justified in feeling that way. Nah, you kind of are. So that's the first thing. Second thing is if you read the text message exchange that Sam Leavitt's brother apparently had with Pete Nakos of On3, and I believe the authenticity of those messages have been verified. I have not done so myself. But if that's the case, that it is a legitimate message from his brother, and I think it is, then he's just not happy with how the story's being framed. He wasn't actually pushing back on the idea that Sam Leavitt could go elsewhere at some point in time. He said Sam hasn't decided what he wants to do just yet and was really upset with how, it was framed, and maybe it was over the top from On3. I don't know. I'm just reacting to this. I don't have any boots on the ground reporting to give you here on the show. But what I think is fascinating is the idea that Sam Leavitt could not return to Arizona State. What? Whoa. Hey, that'd be one of the biggest names to enter the transfer portal in the last several years. How many times has a playoff starting quarterback from the last two seasons, and we won't know for this year, of course, because we don't know who's getting in or who's going to enter the portal come January. How many times do those guys wind up playing for other teams? Last time it happened was Nico leaving Tennessee. And for my everydayers out there, you may remember, I led with that on my show for 9 consecutive days because it was such an unbelievably shocking story to have come about in that portal cycle. And so if Sam Leavitt were to leave Arizona State, which, again, does not by any stretch of the imagination appear to be a surefire ordeal, but also seems to be incredibly possible, if he were to leave Arizona State, couple of takeaways there. Number one, Arizona State's NIL situation is not as strong as Kenny Dillingham would like it to be. He messages a lot. Had a quote at a press conference the other day about getting more money infused into his program because he's very aware of what it takes. You don't have to like it. Businesses, fans, donors, you don't have to like. That's the way it is. It is a very black and white situation in many instances. If you want to compete at the highest level, you have to be funded to compete at the highest level. If you're okay just being a good program that has some fun moments and splashes, then that's totally fine, but don't expect to go out and win a national championship if you can't compete with other schools financially. Can guardrails come in place from, the NCAA, I guess? Sure, it could make it better. It wouldn't change the fact that the amount of money capable of being raised from school to school varies, and that's dependent upon what you're able to get from the community there. Secondly, when Arizona State made the playoff, it was incredible. It was improbable. They were picked to finish last in the Big 12. If they're losing the guy that has brought their quarterback or brought their team back to relevance at quarterback, boy, that feels like a tough blow, not just in the financial sense, but in the player personnel acquisition and retention world. If you can't keep that guy around, boy, that could spell some really bad future outcomes in the roster building world for Arizona State. It doesn't have to. And again, none of this is assured to even happen. But another thing that I thought about, and I was discussing this with somebody the other day, I think that this year's transfer portal quarterback market is going to be as wild as we have ever seen, whether Sam Leavitt is in there or not. I think the number of guys that are going to enter the portal that wind up being Power 4 impact starters will be as great as we have seen before. Now, there have been some big-time portal moves over the years. If you think back to, say, the 2023 Pac-12, look at how many transfers you had in that conference that didn't just succeed in that league, but also went on to be great in the NFL. Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Cam Ward, to name a few. They also had DJ Uiagalelei, which, think whatever you like of him, had Oregon State with their best season in a very long time. All of those portal quarterbacks, that was just in that conference. This past cycle was not nearly as strong. There was not the depth of quality quarterbacks that there have been in cycles past. This year, I very much get the sense that there will be. I think it will be a stronger quarterback portal market. If Sam Leavitt is able to go, he would demand top dollar, I think, from a lot of bigger programs. Think Big Ten or SEC. And certainly Mendoza going this past cycle, yeah, that's about as high impact a move as you can get as well. But I think there are going to be more Darian Mensah types, who is flying under the radar a bit, not for me, at Duke, because it hasn't been the season that Duke was hoping for. Their defense isn't that good. Mensah's been kind of boom or bust. They're like Texas A&M light, but very, very light with regards to their offense. They create explosive plays. They also turn the ball over and can be incredibly streaky there. But a name to keep an eye on to see if he goes in the portal is Jaren Kiave-Sangapolotele at Cal. I know that once he started popping with the Bears earlier this season, there were a lot of folks behind the scenes in Berkeley that started getting things in motion to make sure that he stays, because they know how good he is and how much he would command. That doesn't mean teams are going to stop trying to ask. That's a name. I'd look at the guy at North Texas, Drew Mestamaker. If Eric Morris stays or goes, other schools are going to be able to offer more for a guy that's in the American, has North Texas on the brink of playoff contention. I'll talk about the G5 playoff games or playoff implicated games tomorrow on the show. I think that's a name to watch, and we don't know who the mystery names are. No one thought after the season Tennessee had a year ago at this time that Nico would wind up in the portal. Imagine telling that to somebody. So who's the big name going to be? And those are just a handful of guys. I'd like to see if someone could pull Malik Washington away from Maryland. Talented guy who I don't think is in a very good situation, because Maryland is trying but just not succeeding to be a good, successful college football program. If Mendoza goes to the NFL, where's Indiana looking at quarterback next? This quarterback cycle could be absolutely wild. And Sam Leavitt, make no mistake about it, would be one of the biggest names. And I will throw this one at you to wrap today's show. Can Baylor, regardless of what happens with Dave Aranda, can they keep Sawyer Robertson there? Because if Sawyer Robertson, who I believe would be able to get another year of eligibility, that is one of the best pure passers, I think, in all of college football. And he's just being stashed away at Baylor. That feels like a Miami move. That feels so Miami to me. Just throwing it out there. So if Leavitt goes in, he'd be one of the biggest names. That's an if. We'll see how the situation evolves. The quarterback cycle is going to be wild, and we don't know who the surprises are yet. I'm almost excited for the offseason. Operative word being almost. Games are always better. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.